Okay, good morning, everybody, and a warm welcome to our third interview already of our series Morning Coffee with a CEO. This time, I'm really very happy that we have Kai Schukowski here with us, the General Manager of the Kempinski Hotel in Vilnius. Unfortunately, the situation here in Lithuania is still rather difficult, I would say, so that Kai is with us online, but still I'm very happy to have him here. Kai, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Dominic, thanks very much. Great to be here, especially with all these Zoom calls. I appreciate the listeners dialing in after so many of them, and I hope all of you have your coffee ready. I have as well.
Perfect. That's how it's supposed to be. So today again, we will have a cup of coffee, talk for 30 minutes about interesting things with you, Kai. So everybody out there, grab as well a cup of coffee or maybe tea and just enjoy our talk here. And please don't hesitate to post your questions in the chat. But before we start, as it is already a kind of tradition here in our interviews, I would like to shortly introduce Kai because there's a lot to talk about. And Kai, as you will see, is a very interesting person with a lot of interesting stories. So Kai, he is a German expat here in Lithuania, managing the Kempinski Hotel. And in doing so, he is still the youngest manager in the Kempinski history. Kai tries to maintain a positive mindset at all the time and believes strongly in the value of personal development. Thus, he loves reading and listening to podcasts, especially in the field of guidebook and management literature. Kai is also a people's person, and he likes to lead by example, which has brought him and Kempinski numerous awards. And Kai is also a global citizen, since he lived and worked not only here in Lithuania and in Germany, but also in Beijing, Geneva, and Dubai, and also studied in Auckland and Switzerland. And as if that wasn't enough already, Kai is also a sports enthusiast, as he loves to go to the gym, snowboard in winter, wakeboard in summer, and also play tennis. And as you can see from his table, he loves coffee, which is the perfect prerequisite of our today's interview. So Kai, let's start by talking a little bit about yourself. I already mentioned that you won several awards, about which we will talk a little bit later, and that you were the youngest hotel manager in Kempinski history. But tell us a little bit about how you became a hotel manager in the first place, and when and how you took the reign here of Kempinski in Vilnius.
Yeah, thanks, Dominic, for the nice introduction. Yeah, I mean, how did it come about? I mean, obviously, you're not growing up wanting to be a general manager. That's something that kind of evolves naturally over time. I guess as a kid, I've been privileged enough to be able to travel back at the times when we used to be able to travel with my family, I suppose, around the world and get to enjoy, the nice parts of traveling and staying obviously in hotels. I believe probably from there, I figured it would be, nice to see more behind the scenes. So I always had this curiosity about, what makes the hotels actually run, and always had this passion for it. Though my family had nothing to do at all with hotels, and actually they were quite against me going into hotels. They always said, if you fail at everything else, you can always work in a hotel or in a restaurant. That was kind of the worst case scenario. But it's probably this contrarian in me. So the more they said it, the more I wanted to do it. To a point where eventually my father said, "Okay, son, if you want me to support you in your future, and obviously help also with my studies, as you said, I was studying in Dubai. So he said, listen, you're gonna do 6 months internship in a quite mediocre hotel in Berlin." And he knew the general manager. He said, make sure he doesn't like the job. So I was polishing glasses for basically 6 months. Met my first girlfriend, fell in love, and just loved the industry. And he said, okay, I give up. This seems to be your calling. And from there, I just kind of went through the motions, obviously studying in Dubai and in Switzerland, doing various internships along the way. and then starting off my career with Kempinski. Basically, one financial crisis ago, back in 2008, 2009, when it was similar situation, probably not as bad as it's now, but that's when I started joining Kempinski and have been with them ever since, and not looking back, very positive I did.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this it's very interesting. This reminds me of a German proverb, the attitude of your parents, yeah, wenn nichts wird. You probably have heard it as well. But yeah, very nice to hear that you managed still to follow your dream and fell in love with the industry. So yeah, talking about Vilnius and Lithuania, as you're here, and recently Vilnius was nominated as one of the places to be as an expat. And you are, as I am, a German living in Lithuania. So how do you like living here? How do you perceive Lithuania, maybe especially compared to Germany? And what are your future plans here? Are you planning to stay here, or are you planning to go somewhere else to broaden the list of countries you've been working even more?
Sure. Yeah, as you said before, I mean, obviously been living in many countries before, and usually more, I would say, gateway cities, Beijing and Dubai, etc. Especially coming from my last post in Dubai, they sent me, literally it was 2 weeks before coming to Vilnius, said, yeah, you're transferring to Lithuania. And to be fair, I had no idea where is Vilnius, Lithuania. Even being from Germany, I knew so little about it. I thought it was like Russia or Soviet Union, something really complete misperception about the place. But the day I came here, which was funnily enough, the 1st of January, 2017. So I literally came at the end of the New Year's Eve party they had. So the lobby was still in that condition. So I came, and I'll be quite honest. I mean, from the moment I came, despite coming from the warmth and sun, maybe despite, especially because of this, coming to the cold, but I fell in love with the place. I don't know what exactly it is. It's the city itself, it's the people, it's, I often say Lithuania is probably more German than Germany, the better Germans, like we are known for order and structure. I think Lithuania does it so much better. Everything is really running smoothly. It's so clean. I'm so impressed really in terms of security. There's so many benefits here. Of course, maybe some people say, well, you live in a bubble. Obviously, I live in Old Town. Most of my time I spent in a 5-star hotel. But of course, I mean, I'm aware of what's going on. I move around the country as well. I have a lot of friends. Most of my friends are actually Lithuanians. So I really connect with this place. I love the city. I love the energy. A lot of young people, creativity, can-do attitude, but also work-life balance. I mean, I love Dubai as well, but people move there to make a career, to work, right? So it's like really 7 days a week, 15, 16 hours a day, bigger, better, stronger. Here, I think there's really a big focus on work-life balance, and people really, take that serious. It was for me a bit of a mind shift in the beginning, but now I actually appreciate it as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a livable city. And then, as you said before, there was recently a number of articles that mentioned Vilnius as one of the top 10 expat destinations in the world, which, before it was never on the map. And it just goes to show it's a beautiful place to live. It's really still very good value for money. Of course, prices are going up, but so are salaries. So in general, I think it's really a hidden gem in Europe, and I'm extremely privileged to be living here. As I said, I was meant to come for 2 years to manage the hotel. Been now already 4 years here, and who knows how longer I will be. Definitely 1 more year. Then we'll see. I mean, I have no rush to move on. Of course, I'm still fairly young, so I think the world is still big and a lot to be explored. But even if I move on, honestly, I mean, my girlfriend is Lithuanian. I have a lot of roots here. I probably will always be connected with the place, and I can see myself retire possibly in Lithuania, more likely than in Germany. I would, at this moment, I would say that. But again, it's many years until that point. But as you can see, I clearly love Lithuania and Vilnius in particular.
Yeah, that's very nice to hear, and actually we can see it from your reaction. And I agree with you in a lot of points that you just mentioned. Okay, so Kai, let's also talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. Yeah, the tourism industry, to which you belong, obviously, was and is heavily impacted by COVID-19. But Kempinski seems to handle this situation with a lot of, I would say, creativity and an innovative mindset. So Kai, tell us a little bit about that. How have you experienced the crisis? What was your initial reaction when you first heard about it? What measures have you implemented in your hotel? And maybe also most importantly, as I mentioned, the positive mindset in the beginning, how do you personally cope with this situation? And how do you stay positive and motivated?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, as you said, we've been extremely badly hit. I mean, so has a lot of industries, but I think one was probably, ours was one of the worst, definitely. And it was so hard because, you know, when it hit in the beginning, you didn't know where it's going to go. I mean, you know, obviously the lockdown came, you would think it's 1 week, 2 weeks, you know, some people would say it's 2 months, and you think, yeah, sure, 2 months. But, you know, nobody could expect such a long period of lockdown, which was really a first for everybody. And, you know, we have a lot of plans and strategies in place, but nobody has a plan for a 1 year, you know, a global pandemic type of scenario. Well, now we have, but, you know, we're really caught off guard, so to say. And the first time, obviously, we really were on a more, I would say, conservative side. So we were one of the first Kempinskis to close at the time because it hit us really bad. And we didn't really see much benefit of, you know, trying to operate at all. And I think it was the wise decision. So we closed for almost 3 months in the first lockdown. Obviously sent people on Prastova and kind of tried to survive these 3 months. Then once we reopened in July, as you said, I mean, you know, business was still extremely, extremely low. So the only way to survive is by being creative and coming up with new ideas. And I think we've done really a stellar job. I mean, the team obviously has been reduced, which is unfortunate, but a natural consequence. Obviously, we had to scale down because, you know, once you run, you know, at 90% hotel and you go down to running a hotel with 5%, you know, your capacity utilization is completely down. So obviously, it's a natural consequence. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a few to save the majority, and that's what we try to do. And we actually still managed to hang on to most of the people, and they really appreciate it all as well. I mean, we hardly had any voluntary departures. Most of them who could stayed with us, so I'm really proud of that. And yeah, as I said, I mean, obviously then was the point where we really set everybody around the table. It doesn't matter what level you are, an idea is an idea. If it comes from the steward, the waiter, or the GM, I don't care. As long as the idea is good and the execution of it is good, you know, that's what matters, especially in these times. So I think we swiftly came up with a couple of good ideas. And most recently, what probably you've seen, and maybe some of you tried, was the in-room dining, which is in itself nothing new because people have always been eating in their rooms, but to a point where obviously we were actually the first in that in Vilnius, to a point where we really allocated an entire floor, removed all the beds, all the usual hotel amenities, and really transferred our restaurants. So you have like a pop-up restaurant in each of the rooms, and you basically have your own dining experience in every guest room with an amazing view. We don't charge you for the room, you just come and pay your normal bill that you would normally do in the restaurant. And people fell in love with it, you know, because you have the privacy, you have the full attention, you're not sharing with anybody else, you have your exclusive little place to dine, and that's been extremely successful for us. Of course, we're still behind last year, no question, but honestly, it helped us really survive and cope and actually bring back a lot of people from Prastova that normally would have been, you know, not working this time. So that really was a good idea, in addition to many other things like, you know, renting our offices, like some of the rooms as office space. So we have quite a few rooms that come here, and rather than work from home, they choose to work from a, you know, 5-star environment, which is obviously a nice thing to do. We started food delivery, wine tastings in the room. So you basically, you know, you could sit in the room and on the screen you would have our sommelier telling us a story about the wine while the waitress brings you various wine to test. So, you know, all these things that we've never done before, they kind of came up out of brainstorming sessions, and we really, I think the strength was to quickly implement, not to sit too long and discuss and analyze. You have to quickly execute. It's good to have an idea, but the idea is only as good as the execution. So you have to really, you know, translate it into actual implementation. I think we've been really swift and fast. And again, going as a team through these difficult times, it really brought the team together. I feel we're more connected now because we know we're only as good as the weakest part of the team. And everybody really, I can see amazing support, amazing team spirit. And again, as you said, the positivity, that can-do attitude, because you have two options. You can either give up and say, well, the crisis is bad and we all should get depressed and look for new jobs, or we, roll up the sleeves and say, okay, how can we actually make this happen? There's always a way, right? It's going to be a difficult way. It's going to be a long way, but somehow there must be a way, because life is cyclical. We're now at the bottom of the part, but it will go up. And the last few years of hospitality has always been increasing, right? So we've been a bit spoiled. So maybe, I'm not saying it was needed, but maybe a bit of a reset, a bit of cooling off is maybe not a bad thing. So we appreciate also, again, the good times. And I think, with all this together, the team coming together, I think we weathered the storm and really got through it as good as possibly we could have done. So I'm really, really happy about that.
Awesome. This is really great to hear, and wiser words have never been spoken. And also from your answer, it becomes very obvious that you're really close to your employees and that you care for them. And this actually also brings me to my next point. As mentioned earlier, Kempinski has won various awards, among them for Most Desirable Employer in Lithuania 2020 in the hospitality sector, actually for the second year in a row already. So what do you think? Why is that? And is this something that you actively seek to achieve? And I know that you're reading a lot of those management books, and so what is your leadership style behind it? What kind of approach are you trying to implement, in communicating with your employees and your colleagues? And then how far has this contributed to winning this award as Most Desirable Employer?
Sure. As you rightfully said, I think a lot of companies say it's profit first or clients first, but I think it goes without saying for us, it's really the employees first, because, without good and passionate and driven employees, the quality is down and then eventually the profit is down. So I think we really start, looking at our hoteliers, as we call them, because we're not just employees, but we're hoteliers. From the heart, we do what we do with love and passion. And again, there's not one thing. I can't say this is the one thing you have to do to have an amazing team, right? We all would love to have that, and I certainly don't have the golden answer. I think it's a combination of things that you do consistently over time. And I think that's the main point, because a lot of times I see managers, they go to a training or a conference, a seminar, 2 days, how to be a good people's leader. They get excited, they do 5 things, new things, initiatives, and then it kind of dies in beauty, and they go back into the old routine. So I think it's, again, small things consistently done well over time that yield good results and that build a culture. Because again, yes, we are now obviously a small team. Just slightly less than 100 people. So you could say a small team. Nevertheless, I'm not the only person that kind of dictates the culture. Obviously I'm the head, so I set the tone and obviously lead by example. But a lot of the employees, the dishwasher and the chef, I don't even deal with them on a daily basis. I see them, I greet them definitely. But, if I'm really nice to them and everything is fine, but then the manager of them is grumpy and shouts at them and so on, that kind of doesn't work. So it has to be a seamless culture throughout at every point of the company level. So again, going back to that, obviously it starts, the way we greet ourselves, the way we talk to each other, the way, common courtesies, right? So these small things that, again, when we say lead by example. So if I don't greet the waiter in the morning with a nice smile and good morning, how are you, and really care, how can I expect him to be nice to our guests, right? So it's sometimes these little things that make a big difference. It's about genuinely listen. It's not about how are you, everything okay, and then kind of seem to care and then you move on. Actually, how are you doing? Let's have a chat. Let's have a coffee. What's happening? What's on your mind? And then take action to be really that they see you care about them. They can trust you, they can open up to you, and they will pay this forward. So it comes back to you. So I think that's super important. And again, that positivity, inclusiveness, often only managers talk amongst themselves, and the information they sit on that information. But, we live in a transparent information age where information should be shared with everyone, right? It's completely open. And really, I think, having we call it town hall meetings where we update everybody. We have every morning a meeting with all our managers, and they then meet with their own people, so that really everybody is up to date and see what's going on. So there's no secrets going on, there's no hidden messages or what have you. So really radical transparencies, openness, being genuine to your people, leading by example, and just being kind to one another, and you're coming up with little surprises to make somebody smile goes a long way to build a company culture, and that over time I think fosters this really genuine and hospitable culture that our guests know from us and appreciate us. So I think that's one of the keys, I would say, that helps us achieve those awards, which of course we're really proud of. But we don't live for the award. The award is the cherry on top. But I think the daily, praise and compliments that we get from our guests, which we obviously then again go back to our employees and share with them. That's kind of the oil that keeps us the fire burning, so to say. And I think that's what we're waking up for every morning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very, very interesting. And yes, you said consistency is very important, and you mentioned a couple of times, or you said the word really a couple of times, and genuinely. So I think this is also key, that you're just not pretending to care about your hoteliers, but you actually care. And it's again very obvious from your answer that you do. Kai, another award you and your team have won this year, which is the Lithuania's Leading Hotel 2020 and Lithuania's Leading Hotel Suite 2020. And again, there's probably a lot to talk about, but I would like again to focus on one very specific management aspect, if you will. This is client satisfaction. You just mentioned also, the client feedback. So everybody is talking about, customer satisfaction, client satisfaction, and many companies actually try to adapt this approach and try to implement it in their daily operations. But not everybody succeeds in implementing a full client's perspective. So you as a hotel manager, where the client satisfaction is of the utmost importance, how do you manage it, and what kind of advice could you maybe give to other managers?
Definitely. We always say, it's a common phrase, I suppose, that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So, quality can be very subjective. You may like something, you may not like something. We can argue about it, but we try to, as much as possible, quantify the feelings of our guests. How do we do this? Obviously, we have internal surveys. Once the guest is leaving, they get to fill out a survey, which kind of analyzes different things, breaks it down to the score, and gives us some sort of idea of how their stay was. The same, we have an external temperature check, if you will, which kind of takes the online sentiment from various review platforms online, such as TripAdvisor, Facebook, Google, all these popular Booking.com review places where people can leave feedback and reviews. And we have a tool that kind of aggregates it into, a reporting tool to make it digestible and for us to understand and read every single comment. We read every single comment. We get an immediate alert in the middle of the night, whenever it is, real time, it comes in. It has a couple of people associated with us, and this is the top of the inbox, and we'll see immediately, was there something wrong in the service delivery? Because believe it or not, even in Kempinski, mistakes do happen. We're all humans, so that's normal, and I think that's totally fine. Things happen, but it's more important, how do we deal with it, right? And what are the learnings to ensure this particular mistake won't happen again? And often we try to turn a negative experience into positive, and we had many instances where guests actually were quite upset because, for whatever reasons, and we came up with something to overcome that they came actually into fans and would come back again, so that's what we're aiming for. But yeah, again, being able to measure it, managing it, analyzing, discussing it, and then again, immediate action, not to put this on the meeting minutes for the meeting in 2 months and then see, what was this particular issue? Handle it immediately, because again, for every business it may be different, but for us, as you said, client satisfaction is what makes us charge our premium prices, because we are delivering premium service. So if that premium service is not there, we can't charge premium prices anymore. So that's utmost importance. So immediately this has to be addressed. What happened? Why did it happen? And how can we avoid doing this in the future? So I think that's super key for us. And it goes really immediately. So to a number of managers that are involved. So it's not just me who sits it and then sees what to do with it. So it goes into various inboxes. We then get together. We have weekly meetings, but if it's a severe consequence, then it will be on the same day, discussed in the morning briefings, and then obviously discuss how we can address it and avoid it in the future. But at the same time, again, I see a lot of companies doing the mistake of only overanalyzing the mistakes. I think it's super important also to celebrate the wins, especially as we said, we're in really, really bad times. So if I now, in the bad times, still go to the managers, what did you do? What is this? What is this? You know, it's not exactly building, you know, passion and enthusiasm. They already have all the bad news 24/7, you know, they can read themselves on the phone. So rather than, you know, looking for the mistakes, let's celebrate the wins. Wow, you know, this person has been mentioned, you know, let's highlight them, let's celebrate them. We have an internal Facebook group where we share these things, and just to kind of lift each other up and say, well done, amazing, keep it up, you know, to build that team spirit. Once again, foster positivity rather than, you know, scare people into making mistakes. That's not what we want to do.
Yeah, okay, so not only focusing on the mistake, but also celebrating the successes. Yes. So since we don't have questions so far from the chat, one last quick question from my side. You mentioned earlier also the work-life balance here in Lithuania, also compared as to Dubai. How is the life of a general manager of a hotel? Do you live in the hotel? Do you have a suite there where you live, or do you have a separate apartment? What are your working hours? You know, are you, because as a hotel, I mean, you have 24 hours guests around, you know, to care for. How's the work-life balance? How is the life of you from a, you know, work-life balance perspective?
Sure. I start off with a massage in the morning, then go to the golf course and come back for an espresso. So that's usually my usual day. No, I guess that's the misperception of what people, and maybe what it used to be a couple of years ago, but I think also that has changed very much. I think as head of organizations, we're becoming much more business driven. What used to be a GM, traditionally GM would used to be a chef. You know, then they become F&B manager to look after restaurants, then hotel manager, and then general manager. Why? Because they were always in the lobby, always shaking hands, and they knew everybody. It was the social glue. And that was great, and it's still very much important, but I think the business aspect has been much more important. So, you know, now I believe it's more really about, you know, knowing your financials, coming up with a strategy, your social media strategy, marketing, sales, all these aspects, rather than just being in the lobby and greeting people. That's still very much prevalent, and of course has to be done, and I enjoy doing that. But if I do this all day, I'm not driving the business, and I'm ultimately responsible for delivering the bottom line performance that we promise to our owners, to our stakeholders, and that's up to me. So, you know, it's up to me how I allocate my time, right? Do I come up with a new promotion, a new offer to make sure it converts and drives business? Or do I sit and drink coffee for 5 hours with a guest? So you have to balance it. Of course, there's days when you really have, you know, big delegations and you know, top VIPs, where it takes more time to socialize and kind of catch up with them. But then other days, obviously, you know, you spend much more analytical. I mean, we just went through the budgeting process, where, you know, for I don't know, a period of a couple of weeks, we were scratching our heads, you know, doing the impossible for next year to forecast how it's going to be 21. So very much analytical, financial part. So I think it's a really nice balance. I mean, of doing, you know, the business part, but also going around with the people, sitting in the canteen, speaking with them, see what's happening. Again, this is very important. Otherwise, you can't be leading by example. If I hide myself every day in the office, and you know, just send emails to my employees. I mean, just to give you a note, yesterday, well, the last 2 days, we're lucky enough to have a big order for our vouchers. So we sold more than 1,300 vouchers. So the last 2 days, I was with 7-8 people in the ballroom, and we were with social distancing, of course. We had enough space in the ballroom, so we were stamping our vouchers and preparing them. Again, you know, some people would say, "Oh my God, what a bloody task!" But we had nice music, we had hot chocolates, we had a good time. It was actually, in a way, team building, and it was not something that is on my job description to stamp vouchers, but it's something you do anyway. You take pride in it, you enjoy it, it drives business. I mean, it's real revenue coming in. The people see you leading by example, you're part of them, you're not just the boss who sits in the office. And yeah, for me, it's also something new, something different. So I think, you know, I really don't want to be the 9 to 5. I know exactly what I do. I want to know, let's say, 70% of my day what I know, but the other 30, 40%, it is always something that's not planned, and you have to be thinking on your feet, be quick. And I think that's what the beauty of the job is, that, you know, no day is like the other, and that's what I really enjoy about it.
Okay, okay, cool. Kai, time's up, but we have a question from the chat which I would like to ask you. Juginta, she's asking, do you get nervous before visits of very prominent persons? So I also know that you've met Macron, the French president, recently. So do you get nervous before such meetings?
Sure. I mean, it's like anything, right? I mean, the first time you were driving the car, I mean, we were all shaking and, you know, checking the mirrors and so on. And I was myself. The first time I had a big visit, which actually, to be honest, was probably in Vilnius. Like before, I was in other hotels, there were more resorts. So you had more leisure guests and the typical tourists. So since I've been in Vilnius, I mean, of course, that was pre-crisis, but we had every other month some sort of head of state, prime minister, president. So definitely, the first few times I was really nervous in terms of protocol. I give you one example where I really probably did once a colossal mistake, which I will remember always. You know, when we had the German president coming, he came together walking from the presidential palace with his wife. And, you know, the protocol didn't brief me. I didn't ask. So who do you greet first, the wife or the president, right? Because common courtesy in Germany, you greet the wife first. But as per protocol, you greet the president first. So there was some small hiccups. So definitely, we all get nervous. We all get are humans. But again, answering your question, the more you do it, the more you understand what is protocol, what is etiquette, and so on, and the more experience you get. And now I actually enjoy it. Of course, there's always a little bit of you know, some certain buzz, and depending on who it is, and excitement. But you're not like shaking nervous anymore. I think it's healthy nervousness, but not to a point that you freaking out nervous. So, but it's a really nice thing, and I hope that once travel opens up again, we'll have the privilege of having more of them with us very soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Super. Kai, time's up, but is there anything else from your side that you would like to address to me, to our listeners and viewers here?
Sure. So firstly, thank you, Dominic, and the German Chamber. I think amazing initiative here. Keep the ball rolling. Just because we can't meet doesn't mean we can't meet digitally, and I think that's the way forward. So well done on that. But also to everybody, I mean, yeah, most importantly, obviously, stay healthy, get through this. Hopefully, times will pass sooner than later. We are optimistic that next year will definitely rebound. So that looks, from what we see, quite positive. But again, let's learn the lessons from it. We hope no global pandemic will come back anytime soon, but still there's lessons to be learned, you know, how we can be more flexible, more nimble in terms of operating and you know, making decisions. And again, if anything, stay positive, look at the things you can control, not focus on the things that you cannot control. You know, the vaccine and global, you cannot control, but you can control your actions and your decisions based on that and on the factors that are there. So I think that's a good learning for us. You know, we've seen and showed that positivity and the power of can-do attitude can get you through even the difficult of times. And with this, I wish you a very festive season ahead. Stay healthy, and look forward to hopefully welcoming you back very soon at the Grand Kempinski Vilnius for a real coffee in our hotel.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you very much, Kai. I really enjoyed our interview and very nice closing words. One last thing on our own behalf to everybody out there, and also to you, Kai, of course. Please do not forget to attend our Christmas event on the 16th of December, which is already next Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we will all together enjoy a little time together and enjoy a classic German movie. So if you haven't registered yet, please do so. And with this closing statement from my side, I would like to thank everybody for listening in, and same as Kai, wish you a nice pre-Christmas time, stay healthy, and then have a nice Christmas, everybody. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.